So we're now going to start on the part 4 of this panel discussion, the last part, and that one is NF consume. Okay, so we have a bunch of people here that has it in a savior state and a bunch of people here that has it last. So this is going to be quite an entertaining topic, I think, to talk about, especially how to consume last. I'm not putting you guys in the on the, what do you call it, the spotlight, but I kind of am. And anyways, it sounds sadistic just now. Anyway, so let's talk about NF consume. So I wrote some definitions here. So consume means you're gathering new information. Okay, you're not gathering anything old. Okay, like if you're reading the same thing, that's not like consume. Consume means new. It has to be new information, like brand new. Like you didn't know anything about it before. Okay, yeah. There you go, Hannah. There you go. Okay, okay. And another interesting spin about NF consume, which I really like, is that unlike the INTJs and those guys that have that specific function stack where they have NF sleep, so they find meaning from within. NF is what's the point? What's the meaning, right? The purpose. We find it from outside, external, from new experience. So new experience helps us find meaning in life. All right. And the other thing that I noticed with NF consume is that you are good at gathering someone else's patterns. Like the NE can gather some, and you can gather someone's character as well. So the NE will gather someone else's FI. So actually, you're very insightful at seeing someone's character. Okay. And the last thing I want to bring up with NF consume before we get you guys to share yours, or sorry, there's 2 more points actually. So the second to the last one is those that have NF consume higher, one of their super power that I have seen is finding the right building to climb in life. Because when you just start blasting in life, like let's say it's the first thing that you saw and you just decide to build on that first thing that you saw, right? Well, you might not even like it and you might not be passionate about it. And by the time you get to the top of that building, you look down, you're like, ah, shit, I hate my life. I hate where I am. You know, like you kind of wasted your life, like, because you didn't climb the right building. This is not, it did not resonate with you inside because you didn't take the time to gather all the different experience and find the one that, resonated with you the most, right? And the last part of NF consume that I want to bring up is savoring the thing that you take in. Because before I realized, like when I eat, I don't even like, I just eat like a monster. I don't even like taste the food, right? Or like I'm playing video games or watching a movie. Like sometimes I'm doing it like an SIT way. I'm just like, all right, check. I finished the show. Check. I finished the show. I finished this game. Check. So now when I'm playing games, if I have to check with my emotions now. I'm like, am I enjoying myself or is this tedious? I don't know if you play like an RPG and you're grinding to level up your character. That's like TE, right? You're just like in life, you're like grinding things, right? And you're just leveling yourself up. Like when are you enjoying life? Like when are you like savoring in the moment? Like let's say you eat a cheeseburger and you're not like, it's like you take a bite, you're like, so good. It's like, like you savor it, right? So with all these factors in mind, and I'm more than happy to, if you forget some of them, I'll bring it back up again. How do you guys experience NF consume based on these factors that I've kind of mentioned? I want to bring in Jonathan first because he has NF consume first. So Jonathan, talk about, and you're an ENFP too, so you're going to be like the most addicted to like consume of like anybody,
Double activated.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Shit. Okay, whatever. So I guess like I always catch myself like when how active my consume is, because like I notice that I'm always like looking for something new. So like if I have like half a second to spare, I'll be like, what can I find on my phone that's new? And just like check something, like maybe go to Facebook, maybe go to Instagram, maybe go to TikTok, maybe go to this website, maybe go to my list of things that I've got because I need something new. It's like this addiction, right? It's exciting. Sorry, can you remind me some of the points you raised?
Finding meaning from new experiences, gathering someone's FI, finding the right building in life.
Yeah, so that I find that really interesting today because it's something I've not actually really thought about and I didn't realize about NFs, but it started to make sense in the fact that like I remember since like I was in high school and I was about to leave, like complete high school and go into the real world. I was like thinking back then, like, what do I want in life? Like, I'm kind of chasing meaning. You know, I want something that's going to be meaningful. I want to do something that I'm going to really enjoy. So that's kind of like my filter through life, right? So that's the first thing I'm always thinking about when I take a job. Like, is this going to be meaningful? Am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to be able to feel myself? So that was a really valid point, and I think it really related to it very, very much. It's just the vision that we have where we're constantly focused on some kind of greater meaning. Yeah. What was the other question?
Gathering someone's FI, you know.
Oh, yeah. So I like this point as well. And I remember having this chat with someone a long time ago in an OP discussion, is that like, I feel like I can, like seeing the patterns of people is something I can see quickly. It's something I usually point out very quickly as well. It's a very easy way to make fun of someone. It's like, if you noticed some recurring behavior, it's like, oh, hey, you do this thing, I'm going to call you this, give you this weird nickname. But another one is like, when I go to someone's house, like if I step into someone's room, I can just give me 2 minutes, just let me look at all the things in the room, and I'll be able to like figure out who this person is, what they do, what they like, and the kind of person and if I like them or not. Just by analyzing their room or the things that they have.
What about finding the right building to climb in life? Like the right, like having the new experience that you've gathered enough variety that you know which is the right one to climb.
I think, yeah, like as an OE, it's like, you want to do all these things at once. That's a problem I have. I'm trying to do too many things at once, and narrowing down is a problem. But right now I've come to the conclusion that like there are many things that I could be doing, but I'm just trying to enjoy the thing that I am doing now, because the thing that I am doing now was a thing that I wanted to do before. But now I could look at it as, oh, this is no information. This is boring now. I want to do something new. I think I just have to be happy with the fact that the things that I'm working on right now, I do actually enjoy, and just to kind of, I guess, be grateful about it.
All right. So I from what I can hear, you hitting the brakes on that is still difficult.
Yeah.
What about the last part, savoring what you've gathered, like savoring it,
Yeah. So I like the video game thing. Yes. Like there are some times where I feel like it's just a checkboxing, but I do really try to just like play a game and just like get lost in it. So for example, like Skyrim or something, like a big open world RPG game where you just explore, like just, walk around and just take in all the things that are happening in the game, and like just the music as well, just really like feeling the music and feeling seeing the graphics and just saying, oh, wow, this looks great. Just, yeah, I will spend a lot of time just over consuming what I'm consuming, gathering just everything, every detail, every observation, everything.
All right, Jonathan. So this is the perfect segue to Natacha, because Natacha is the same as you in the sense that you're both NF first, but Natacha's a double observer, so she's gonna have breaks when it comes to the over gathering. She'll be better. She'll be balanced with the gather and organize. So Natacha, can you please share with us your experience with NF consume as a double observer, as an INFP?
So there are a few points I also wanted to bring out as far as like what NF consume means to me that weren't mentioned actually. So one thing, the Men Kelly class was a really good example of what NF, the non-stereotypical NF does, which is don't just gather people's patterns, we gather patterns about the world, because we are just jack of all trades. We consume a bunch of things on different topics to the point where we start connecting everything and we see like an overview of what's happening in society or in the world. So that is one aspect of the NF consume that I also wanted to bring out. Another thing is, by consuming people's patterns and getting an overall vibe of how people are, I can also give advice. So I will give them ST tips on how can you then achieve the kind of emotional state that you want to get. So that's one thing where I bring the OI into the NF consume. Another thing, so this is more double observer. I will gather a lot of new different possibilities within the same SI data. So let's imagine I really like one type of story. So let's say a romance story. I'll only consume romance stories, but I'll try different variations, so different tropes, different deconstructions of that SI data. So I will not really gather a lot of different SI. I'll just gather different perspectives on just one single SI. I can narrow down on which SI points I want to gather on. So that's, I think, one of the differences between being F consume the double observer. As far as like savoring the consume, I have double feminine consume, so I get very easily moved by the consume. So like I watch a movie, I will definitely feel the movie. And noticed in general, I tend to consume like ticking the boxes because I'll be like, next please, come on, next, because OE just went new. But if I want to watch a movie, this happens mostly with movies, I will set aside 2-3 hours, which is why I don't do it very often. Just sit down and watch the movie, like no distractions, just purely consume it, fully absorb it so I can process the movie in its entirety. And another element of being FF and F consume and being an IP is that I try different identities out. So I'll be like, let's try to be goth for a second. Let's try to be hippie for a second and just like try it out. And because it's double feminine, it's like none of it sticks around, but I do adopt elements of it with my SI, but it's just like trying out different identities, seeing what works.
Yeah, that sounds fun actually, like being a different person. Like, and it sounds like it's such a double, like a single decider kind of consume, you know, like, oh, I want to be someone else. Like, that's so interesting, you know. What about the other stuff? Like, you know, finding the right building to climb in life, you know, like making sure that, you know, like let's say your career and this is the career that you want to, you know, develop yourself in.
So that's kind of like where the trying different identities out fits in, because first of all, I'm a jack of all trades. So I've tried different things. I've also tried different identities. So if anything actually sticks long enough in my SI, then that's what I'm going to choose. If it doesn't trigger me as much, let's say, like if all the animals I have to do within that job, within that career align, I'm okay with it. For example, for me, it was teaching. I tried out different jobs before I found out that I actually enjoy teaching. And it was like, okay, let's consume different types of jobs. Let's figure out how each of these jobs work. Let's check if I actually value these jobs with my SF sleep. And can I actually do the blast in these jobs? Am I willing to put up with the ST details of this job? If I can tick all of those boxes, then for me, I can narrow down on one single path.
Gotcha. Thanks, Natasha. Next up, we have Cinzia. So Cinzia is interesting because she has savior consume, but she's tribe above self. So it's quite an interesting spin to it. How do you personally experience consume based on all those factors that I mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I wanted to touch upon 2 points, I think, because I think they're somehow different for me than you described them. So the first one was the savoring what you consume, what you eat, what you take in. And it's strange, but I mean, my consume is double activated with the blast last and in a savior state, obviously. But I feel like I'm not one of those people who can savor things. I feel more like a bulldozer gatherer. Like I'm taking it all in. I'm watching at my phone as I'm watching a film, and I'm reading the book. And by extension, obviously, I can't take in anything because I want to take it in all at once. And so that was a bit different for me, I think. And also the superpower that you mentioned with the climbing the right building. Again, it's weird. Maybe it has to do with my double activated consume, because I feel like something like that Jonathan said as well. Like I want to do so much consume that I can't choose. And I feel like, to me, it always feels like when you're at the airport and you have a different gates and there's an airplane at each gate, and one is flying to Paris and one is flying to Rome and one is flying to New York, and all the different airplanes. And I'm trying to figure out which one to take, and because all of them sound so good. I mean, Paris is great, and London is great, and Rome is great. And by the time I finally get around to choosing and think, okay, I want to go to New York, all of the airplanes have left because I took so long to choose that I have nothing left. And I feel that's a typical EP problem, that we're stuck with trying to not limit our options, and by trying to not limit anything, we don't achieve anything, or by trying to get everything, we don't get anything. So that's the problem I feel like I'm having more, because
Right.
yeah,
100% relate with that.
yeah. And I think Shannon, Dave, they said something in the Q&A that said something like, time will do the choosing for you, because one of some options will be taken away from you because time moves on, and then you're left with an option that it's probably not the best one for you. So you have to choose. It's in your best interest, but it's so difficult. Yeah. So that's probably that. And then the two other points. So the meaning from outside, I related a lot to what Natacha said. So the jack of all trades, and that we're trying to gather from like worldviews and trying to make sense of the world. And what you said about seeing someone's character, it's weird. I should have good NF by my functions and my stack, but I feel like I'm the worst at NF. Or maybe I see it, but I don't trust it. So usually when I meet someone new, a new person, I feel like I can see sometimes that I don't like them, but then my NT will tell me, well, that doesn't make sense because they're nice. And so I don't trust my NF, even though I feel like I see it, but I don't trust it because the NT is just above, and the NT is quite different to NF in some ways. So that's that. I'm done.
I'm curious why you can't climb more than one building at one time, because you don't have to just have one career, right? You can have two or three, like some people are, I don't know, they just have the problem with that is you need to have more energy though, so that's the downside, I guess.
And that's an observant problem as well, because Natacha said, well, I'm just going to try out some careers, and they say they're not the right career, then I'm switching. And as an observer, I want to get the right career because this is serious.
Yeah.
I guess the decider point of view is I want to find the right person, and like for dating, maybe.
Or or my identity or something.
Yeah, possibly. Well, I think that's a perfect segue to Heather then. Heather, you are consume last. You consume last, but you're a double observer, so you because of that, like the tribe problem, you're gonna be consuming. You're gonna be forced to consume just to make sure that everything is spick and span. Talk about all the points that I mentioned earlier, and how do you experience it personally?
I was kind of hoping you would forget I was here on this one. As far as the purpose, oh gosh, okay. This is what it sounded like. It sounded like with Natacha, I could really understand a lot of things Natacha was saying, because like I'm in the ballpark figure of what I want to do, which is mental health and just helping people. So I'm in the ballpark, but I want a lot of different jobs because I get bored. It's like if it doesn't have a challenge, I'm bored, I'm out. Or if it doesn't have an environment that I like, then I'm like out, I don't like it, or something like that. If it's not hitting my ethics and really kind of clicking with that. But it seems like Natacha was doing it more in a very purposeful way, the way that she talked about it. And I feel like I just slap it haphazard, and I'm like, oh, wow, I don't like that. Oh, okay. It's just because I feel like I'm always learning on the back end. So I am experimenting and going out there because I don't fully know, but it's just not purposeful. And it just sounded like, to me, Natacha sounded so much more purposeful than me. I just sound haphazard when I go about it. What was the other one? So I got the savory one. Which one am I missing? The career, or what am I missing?
What about the searching for meaning from new experiences? Did you talk about that already?
No. This is where I fall apart. Can we go back to Blast? Searching for meaning. Let me go to the savory thing, because I struggle to. Here's the thing about ST Blast. ST Blast gives me ready-made meaning. I don't have to search for meaning. I've got ST Blast with a structure, and so it just tells me what to do. So I don't have to like reinvent that or redo it, especially if I've got ST NT. I don't want to do the SF and the NF. So like when I had my firstborn, I was scared to death as a new mom. So I had a book that told me, okay, put her on a schedule. So then it was like, okay, great, here's my structure. And so I didn't have to go with my intuition because that was scary. So it took time for me to be safe in that, to where I could start actually going with my intuition. Oh, she's probably crying because of this or this or this, before I just wanted the structure. So I didn't have to come up with that. So that's a struggle for me, if that makes sense. As far as savoring things, I see food as information. It's purposeful. I'm not a foodie. I'm like, okay, what information? So like, I'll even eat stuff that's completely unsavory if I know it's good for me and it's going to get me my goal or what I want. it's like very purposeful. Everything's purposeful for me. So to sit there and just to savor it, I have to schedule that. So I'll have a cheat meal and then I'm right back on task. And it's like, okay, I just have to think, okay, I'm just going to like eat whatever I want. And my husband, if he was here, would laugh because he's like, no, you'll still pick the healthy thing of whatever you want. So it's like, I have to like push myself towards, doing that, but I'm getting better. When we go on vacation and stuff, I kind of settle in and savor like what's around me. I'm more apt to savor what's sensory out here than necessarily what's coming here.
Everyone kind of spiked up when you're talking about eating food for purpose, because I do that sometimes. Like sometimes I'll just be like, I need to eat carbs, I need to eat vegetables, and I need to eat protein. So I just grab whatever and just, okay, it's bland, but it's gonna. But I do also like to savor things, so there's a balance.
It's a very TRF thing, I think, because I think it took me about 33 years of my life. So I recently, well, a few years ago, had this revelation as I was standing in front of my fridge, trying to figure out what would make sense to eat now. I had this revelation that I could just eat what what I like to eat, like what I'm craving, and I was like, oh yeah, I could actually just
Like
eat whatever I fancy.
You're
Like,
allowed to.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense.
Like what they call intuitive eating.
Sorry?
Like what they call intuitive eating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The what would you actually like to eat now? I'm like, okay, yeah,
It just makes me nervous because then I feel like I'll go off the rails. But
yeah. What if it doesn't make sense?
I definitely don't have the superpower they have of being able to, what you're talking about, of gathering FI and I don't even, that's a foreign language. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I'll have to learn that one.
Well, you're gathering someone's character, like, you know the person, know what they're really like inside. It's
what they
weird.
value. See, understanding what people value and what they like.
It's weird. I feel like with any NFI, you can gather people's character. Like if you practice using it, like you can use your NE to gather the person's pattern, and then really kind of like, it's weird to say, kind of like have an X-ray, and you can see what they really are as a person. Like I know Jonathan uses the person's house, he looks around the house, and that's kind of how he does it. But like when I talk to people, like I'm feeling your vibe more than what you're saying, and your vibe tells me more about you. They call it like what, micro expressions. It's so quick that people call it vibe, but really you're really just picking up micro facial expressions that
it's like the meta that's kind of behind, like whatever they say is not really what they're saying, it's kind of what's behind it.
Yeah, it's a lot of things, like the tone of their voice, the sudden switch in their facial expression, if they wince, like I don't know if Jonathan or whatnot can do it, maybe, but like when you talk to someone, they have a flavor, they have a vibe, and sometimes you don't like that. Like Cinzia was saying, I don't know why I don't like this person. This person seems nice. Well, maybe you just don't like their flavor. This person is not the vibe that you like.
A strange vibe. Yeah, strange vibes.
Yeah, this person this person feels like something off about this person. You can't quite explain it, because on the surface they seem like the perfect model citizen, but something's off about this person.
But sometimes it's just you as well. Like sometimes I'll think someone's a bit strange, but it's just my initial my gut feeling. But it's not always right. Like sometimes it's just gonna be like my stupidity. But then I actually get to talk to them, like, okay, actually really cool.
Yeah, I relate to that. Getting like, the vibe is usually instant. Like I will meet a person and within seconds I already know their vibe. But the patterns thing for me is a bit different. Like I can even tell what the person is going to be feeling in certain situations if I talk to them long enough. because I will track their patterns. So I'll be like, okay, you tend to do this and this and then this. If you do this, I know you're going to do this and this after. So you better, I'll let you know that beforehand so you can avoid the pain that will come by doing all those 3 steps.
Boom.
There you go. That's
Perfect explanation.
There we go. That was perfectly said. Like I 100%
Good blast.
Yeah, good good blast. Yeah, there you go. Hannah, we're gonna put you in a spot now. You are IJ and you're consume last. So this is like the hardest thing for IJs is to consume. How do
And
you?
it consumes masculine, right, as well?
Yeah, double masculine consume. Wow, this is interesting. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's hear your double masculine consume last.
Yeah, there was so much here, and it kind of all flew away. All of what you guys said was super interesting to me. I found Natacha, how you described it was so beautiful. I was like, I want that, but how? Yeah, I think what's weird about it for me is that I have Savior FI, but the entire purpose thing feels like a super weird demon. So what I definitely struggle with is finding the right life pile. Like I try to do it because every so often it kind of punches from below. It's like, but the reason why I get so insecure about it is I feel like the tribe needs to tell me who am I gonna be in the tribe. It's not like, it feels like I don't have permission to decide for myself what kind of role I will fill or what kind of purpose I need to prove to the tribe. And also, it's not only about I want to prove it, but I don't actually want to suck at what I want my purpose to be. So I'm super sensitive about telling people what about my purpose, because what if they then look at me as like a bullshit or something? Like I feel like, but I think that the demon consume, to me, it relates to a sense of urgency, because maybe it's the high blast, but I constantly feel that I'm running out of time, of lifetime. And it feels like such an intense urge to go back to cover my bases. And actually what I have experienced at multiple points in my life is I don't have a lot of free time, you know. And all the free time I have, I either spend like blast playing, but mostly just in my sleep. But sometimes if it's really a long chunk of free time, I fall into a deep existential hole. And it feels like I can feel the entire openness of the universe opening up, but it's not like a beautiful space that I can fill. It feels like a huge void, like a literal void. And I'm just scared that I might fall in and get sucked in. So I'm kind of scared to go into the consume because it's super masculine. So I feel like it's gonna suck me in. No one's cover my bases, pay my bills, I don't know, make money for me. So it's kind of the fear of all the basic stuff being stripped away, getting lost in what I want to do in the moment. It's very scary. Yeah. So, but savoring is, I think I'm fine at savoring because I can savor DSI. However, savoring new experiences, I'm always glad when it's over that I can sleep process. And afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, this was so great. But in the moment, I'm just like, so. And the third thing, what was the third thing? I forgot that. I think you made 3 points.
What about climbing the right building? You know, finding the right, trying different.
So I'm very passionate about climate change, but so I logged onto this when I was like 17. However, because I have Demon NT and it's a very NT field, it makes me feel very insecure, kind of, because I want to solve the problem all by my DI self, but I feel like I can never be good at what I need to do. So that's really scary. And also within the field of climate change, what am I gonna do? Because there's millions of things that need to be done. What can I do that is actually useful, that my work is useful? And I don't actually think about if I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm just like, okay, I found something, hold on to it. yeah, so I'm still figuring that out, and I do try and error, like in a sleep plus play kind of style. But what Jonathan said about thinking about, am I going to enjoy this job? Not really. It's more about, am I going to be decently good at this job? That's more what I think about. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
No, that's interesting that you pick a career based on competency as opposed to enjoyment, because I cannot relate to that, because I can get a job where I'm good at it, but if I hate it, I don't want to stick around, like I'm gone. So it's interesting that for you, if you're good in it, that's good enough. You don't need to enjoy it. The other thing that you said about being stuck in a hole. Yeah, go ahead. You want
Wait,
to say?
let me correct something you
Sure.
said, because it's not that I don't notice that I don't enjoy it, but it comes afterwards in a tidal wave style. So for example, when I started my master's, I picked a specialization which is in waste management. And then I went abroad to France, and I experienced a lot of new things. And suddenly I had this revelation of, just because I have decided once that I want to do this, I don't have to stick to it, because I was figuring out over time that I actually hated the way it was taught. I thought it was nonsensical, not aiming at solving the problem. So over time, I get more and more like in fear of, this is leading nowhere. And just because I was in this kind of chaotic state of being abroad, I was kind of able to shift. And it's also where the demon comes out. Like then I bother other people. I'm like, I don't know, can I change? But do I have time? Am I too old? Can I change? And people kept telling me, yes, you are allowed to change your specialization, bitch. So I changed, and I'm a little bit more settled now. But I think, I feel the tidal wave coming at some point, I think. Yeah. So sorry, Kendrick, that was a long blast.
No, it's fine. No, it was very ST clear, which I like. I like how one new experience derailed all your plans. It was just one new and everything got destroyed already. So I'm kind of curious why you don't, because you're double activated TE, right? So you're self above tribe, but you're double activated TE. So why don't you use the tribe to consume? Like, you said you're scared you're gonna get stuck in this black hole of consume. So why don't you say, why don't you go up to someone and be like, hey, can you, I'm gonna go use this 1 week for consuming. Can you be my alarm clock and wake me up from this? Like, because you have the craziest consume. It's like masculine NE. So it's like, that's the craziest kind of NE is masculine NE, right? And then it's in the bottom and it's a super demon. So it's like, you're gonna be like completely out of control, So
I never thought about asking someone to kind of put the brakes on for me there. I literally never considered that. Oh my God, I'm gonna try that, but who am I gonna choose? Oh, the person's gonna be so annoyed at me.
well, that's an assumption, because you didn't consume their character.
I'm projecting. I'm like,
yeah,
right.
yeah. For all you know, they'll be like, "Oh, you're consuming? Yeah, go ahead. I'll, take 2 weeks."
And then, but it's also with the demon, it's always the fear of, I'm gonna look horrible to the tribe because I will suck, and people are going to be like, yeah, you're in your 20s. Good job. You're starting to do that now. Congrats. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna try that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, there's some key tips there. No, but there's nothing wrong with sucking at something. Like, if you do something new, you're obviously gonna suck, right? That's like kind of obvious. Yeah. All right, guys. Does anyone want to add anything to the consume thing, or consume and blast together before we wrap this up? This is gonna be our last topic for today. So, anyone want to add something that they didn't add, or ask someone a question here that they did not ask yet? So the floor is yours. Nope. Okay, so it looks like we've covered all bases, guys. All right, so thanks everyone for coming out and doing this panel interview to cover all the bases. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll see you around in the group. So peace
Thanks,
out.
Kendrick. It was
Bye.
awesome.
Fun.
It was good to see how we all kind of speak the same language.
Yeah, that
This
is
was
cool.
awesome.